Ever wish you could just, quickly get the important stuff from complex information and actually walk away with insights you can use?
Yeah, that's the dream, isn't it?
Well, that's exactly what we're aiming for in today's deep dive. We're looking at something pretty fascinating:
Mhm.
how new tech is changing how we learn.
And
Oh.
specifically, looking at generative AI,
Yeah,
tools like ChatGPT. It's interesting because we're seeing them move beyond just giving simple answers.
right.
They're actually becoming sort of partners in developing deeper learning skills, critical thinking, that kind of thing.
Exactly. And the source we're digging into today looks at this in a really practical way. It's a study about using Gen AI in, of all places, a geriatric nursing class.
Geriatric nursing, okay.
Yeah, the students had to design activities for older adults. The study itself is called Facilitating Students' Critical Thinking, Metacognition, and Problem-Solving Tendencies in Geriatric Nursing Class, a mixed method study. It was in nurse education and practice.
Okay, quite specific.
It is. So our goal here is to pull out the key findings, see how this learning approach actually impacted the students.
And what that might mean for, well, anyone, really. Anyone looking to get better at learning and tackling complex stuff in this, AI world we're in now.
Precisely. We'll see how these students apparently use Gen AI to boost their critical thinking, their metacognition, understanding the own learning.
Yeah, thinking about thinking.
Right, and problem solving, and even just getting better at asking the right questions in the first place.
And if you think about the bigger picture, that's incredibly valuable, isn't it? We're all swimming in information.
Totally.
Being able to analyze it, think critically, solve tricky problems.
Yeah.
That's not just for students anymore. It's essential for, well, everything, careers, personal decisions.
Absolutely. And seeing it applied in healthcare with the aging population challenge,
Yeah,
it makes it very relevant.
it really does.
So then you have generative AI bursting onto the scene. The study notes that while tools like ChatGPT are grabbing educators' attention because they can generate text, charts, all sorts of things,
Right, the potential seems huge.
we're still kind of figuring out the best way to use them for teaching these higher level skills. Like, how do you teach someone to ask better questions or solve really complex problems using AI?
Yeah, there's not a ton of research on that specific angle yet. This study sounds like it's offering some early insights there.
It does, and it brings up that key question. How do you actually know if the AI is helping develop these thinking skills?
How do you measure it?
Exactly. Which leads to the study design. It's what they call mixed method.
Ah, okay. So numbers and experiences,
Mhm.
qualitative stuff.
You got it.
Yeah.
Both. They looked at quantitative data and also gathered student feedback to get a fuller picture. They had 56 first-year undergrad nursing students involved,
Okay.
and they split them into two groups.
Standard experimental setup sounds like. What were the groups?
So one was the experimental group. They used what the researchers called a Gen AI-guided prompt-based learning approach. Fancy term.
Okay, prompt-based learning. I think I see where this is going. And the other group?
The control group, they used conventional technology-based learning, but without those specific instructions on how to create AI prompts.
Ah, okay. So both using tech, but one group got specific training on how to talk to the AI.
That's the key difference, yeah. That intentional, structured interaction.
Okay, so tell me more about this Gen AI-guided prompt-based learning. What did that actually look like for the students in the experimental group?
This is where it gets really practical. They used a specific learning sheet to guide them in creating prompts. It broke it down into 4 stages.
4 stages. Okay.
First stage, clarity. Basically, teaching them to ask really clear, direct questions to get specific info from the AI.
Makes sense. No waffle.
Exactly. Like, the example prompt was something like, as the director of a long-term care facility, please organize a daily schedule of activities for older residents, including details about specific routine activities.
Very direct.
Yeah, the idea is knowing exactly what you're asking for. It's a basic critical thinking skill, really, even without AI.
Absolutely. Okay, so clarity first. What was stage 2?
Stage 2 is context. This was about giving the AI enough background so it actually understood the request properly.
Right, setting the scene.
Yeah. So focusing on the specifics of daily activity scheduling for older adults in long-term care, a prompt here might be, please provide a detailed overview of the types, frequency, and duration of the daily scheduled activities.
Okay, so building on clarity by adding the why and where. Thinking about the background needed. That's crucial for problem solving in general.
Totally. You need the framework. Okay, stage 3.
Let me guess.
On the framework.
Yeah.
Okay, stage 3.
Let me guess. Getting more detailed.
You got it. Specificity. This pushed them to think about the mechanisms and principles behind long-term care activities.
Deeper thinking.
Yeah, and using those insights to craft really targeted prompts like, please specify the steps involved in devising, implementing, and monitoring a daily activity program to ensure optimal participation, well-being, and quality of life.
Wow, okay. That's getting really into the weeds.
Yeah.
Moving beyond just asking what to asking how in detail.
Exactly, from general to focused. And the last stage, stage 4, was called attention balance.
Attention balance. What's that about?
It was about making prompts that gave both a big picture overview and specific details, kind of bringing it all together.
Holistic but detailed.
Right. Building on the specificity they'd already worked on. So a prompt might be, provide a comprehensive overview of the daily activity scheduling process for older individuals receiving long-term care and present this in tabular form.
Okay, so getting the overview and the specifics, perhaps even asking for a particular format like a table, encouraging a well-rounded view.
Yeah, you can see how that structured approach could be useful, right? Not just for nursing. It's definitely a very systematic way to query the AI. So what about the poor control group? What were they doing?
Huh. Well, they were using ChatGPT too, but remember, no specific instructions on how to write prompts?
Guessed. Go for it.
Pretty much. They were just given the assignment design a daily health promotion and long-term care activity and told they could use the AI however they wanted.
Okay, much more open-ended, less structured. Got it.
So, the moment of truth. What did this study find? What were the results? Let's start with the quantitative stuff, the numbers.
Okay, well, the numbers showed some pretty clear advantages for the group that used the guided prompts.
Oh, really? Like what?
They showed significant improvements in their critical thinking tendencies.
Got it.
Their metacognition, that's their awareness of their own thinking, remember?
Right, thinking about thinking.
And their problem-solving tendencies. Plus, they actually perform better on the task of generating the prompts themselves.
Wow. Okay, so learning the structured way to prompt actually led to measurable gains in these really core skills. That's quite something. It really is compelling evidence.
Any other interesting bits from the numbers?
Yeah, another thing, the experimental group, the ones with the guided prompts, they reported finding the tasks easier.
Easier, even though the process was more structured.
Apparently so. And requiring less cognitive effort, less mental strain.
Huh. That's fascinating. So maybe the structure, while it seems like more work up front, actually makes the thinking process smoother, like a roadmap, as you said earlier.
Exactly. It seems counterintuitive, but maybe that guidance reduces the feeling of being overwhelmed or unsure where to start.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, and what about the quality of the questions they asked? Did that differ?
Yes, significantly. This is where they used that cognitive network analysis. The experimental group's questions scored higher across several dimensions: clarity, relevance, complexity, precision, and engagement.
So better on pretty much all fronts. Their questions were just better crafted.
That's what the analysis suggests, yeah. Higher caliber questions overall.
Okay, so that covers the quantitative side. What about the more qualitative stuff? You mentioned epistemic network analysis, ENA. Sounds complex.
It does sound a bit technical, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But basically, ENA gave them a visual way to understand the patterns in the questions the students asked.
Ah, okay. Looking at the connections between those different qualities, like clarity and complexity.
Precisely. It mapped out those relationships for both groups. And what jumped out was that the experimental group showed a statistically significant improvement, specifically in clarity, compared to the control group.
Which ties right back to that first stage of their prompt training, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It really highlights that the structured approach worked particularly well for teaching them how to ask clear, direct questions.
Makes sense. What else did the ENA visuals show?
Well, the visuals for the experimental group suggested that their questions generally showed higher levels of complexity, engagement, precision, and relevance, in addition to that improved clarity.
So clarity improved the most statistically, but the overall quality seemed higher across the board.
That's the implication. It suggests the whole approach encouraged more thoughtful, focused questioning overall, even if clarity was the biggest single jump.
Okay. And the control group's ENA pattern.
Their analysis suggested they tended to score lower on clarity and precision compared to the other aspects like complexity and engagement.
So maybe asking interesting questions, but not as focused or direct.
That seems to be the picture, yeah. They might have been exploring relevant areas, but perhaps less efficiently or effectively, because the questions weren't as sharp. The E&A diagrams really help visualize that contrast.
Like seeing a map of how they were thinking almost. The study even included a before and after example, right? A student's plan before using the guided prompts versus after.
Yes, they did. And the difference was apparently quite noticeable.
What kind of changes did they see?
The improved plans, the after versions, had much more detailed descriptions of the activities and really clear, specific objectives for each activity, measurable objectives.
So it wasn't just about using the AI, it translated into a better, more thought out final product, a deeper understanding.
Exactly. It showed a tangible improvement in their planning and understanding of what makes a good geriatric nursing activity plan.
Okay, so let's bring this back home. For you listening, why should you care about nursing students using AI prompts? What's the bigger takeaway here?
Well, I think this study offers some really valuable lessons way beyond nursing. It's strong evidence that being intentional about how you interact with AI.
That prompt engineering idea.
Exactly, prompt engineering, focusing on how you ask the questions, it can genuinely boost your ability to think critically, to understand your own learning, metacognition, and to solve problems better in pretty much any field.
So it's not just about getting quick answers.
Not at all. It's about learning how to learn with AI as a tool, using it to sharpen your own thinking. Think about how often you search for stuff online, right?
Constantly.
Applying these principles, clarity, context, specificity, that balanced view could seriously improve the quality of what you find and how well you actually understand it.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive, what's the single biggest thing we should all take away from this?
I think the really powerful insight here is about being deliberate, structured, especially when asking questions, whether to AI or even just in your own research.
Don't just type in the first thing that pops into your head.
Right. Understanding why clarity matters, why context is key, why specificity helps, and why balancing the overview with detail is important. That combination seems to unlock deeper insights. It can genuinely enhance your learning and problem solving, whatever you're working on.
That's a really practical, powerful point. So for you listening, maybe take a moment to think about how you usually look for information or tackle problems.
Yeah, reflect on that process.
Could you benefit from being a bit more structured? Maybe even trying out these 4 prompt principles: clarity, context, specificity, attention balance.
Give it a shot. Even if you're not using AI specifically, just thinking through those steps when formulating a question or researching something.
Try it this week, maybe. See if it makes a difference.
Definitely worth experimenting with. This study really points towards an exciting way we can partner with AI, not just use it, but partner with it to become better learners, better thinkers.
Yeah. So if this deep dive got you thinking, maybe look a bit more into prompt engineering or metacognitive learning strategies.
There's a lot more to explore there, for sure. Loads of potential in leveraging these tools and strategies to really boost our own abilities.